Iran executes an ex-karate champion and a children's coach for killing a security official in protests that have swept the nation since the death of Mahsa Amini. These are the pictures of the two pillars of their community who were murdered by their government for the simple act of criticizing them and wanting a better future for their family and for their people. This is just a reminder that these protesters in Iran, they're actually sacrificing something. Not like protesters in America who they might say they're scared of being arrested or they might say they're scared of, this or that, but really like the consequences are nothing compared to what's going on in Iran. We have like these athletes who travel to different countries to compete. Like this soccer player, he plays beach soccer, and he did this hair cutting gesture in solidarity with the protests going on. And when he went back to Iran, according to some Farsi language news, he went missing. So, hopefully he's okay. But again, the stakes are high when these people protest. Another one, this is during Thanksgiving, an Iranian soccer player was arrested for criticizing the government. Now here, Elnaz Rekabi, she was one of the first protesters that I had heard of after this protest movement started. This article from CBS News was from October 2022, and what she did was she was competing doing a climbing competition in Korea, and she did not wear her hijab, and this was celebrated by the West as like some type of statement against the Islamic regime of Iran. And but when she went back to Iran, she was quickly reminded that hey, she does not have the same rights that us of those of us in America have. And they, well, according to some sources, it's hard to really get real news out of Iran, but they're saying that she was forced to put out a confession saying that when she didn't wear her hijab in Korea, it was not a political statement. It was just an oversight that she actually didn't do it. But there was a period of time when she went back to Iran that she was missing. Hence, this article saying that there was concern for her. They didn't know where she was. So, my point in all this is that the stakes are high when people protest in Iran, but what you see the media do is they like to celebrate these people who protest, and rightfully so. These Iranian protesters should be celebrated, and they try to compare like the likes of Colin Kaepernick, Megan Rapinoe, like those type of celebrities in America who protest. Say, hey, look at them. They're all fighting for a better whatever, and they're the same. But the difference is that Colin Kaepernick, Megan Rapinoe, LeBron James, whenever they criticize Republicans, there's no consequence for them, you know? So you have LeBron James, he called Donald Trump a bum here. You think any of these Iranian athletes can call the Ayatollah or the president of Iran a bum and not face any consequence? Of course not, right? But you have LeBron James, star athlete, really talented player. He can call the president a bum and not face any consequences. And I think that's right. You should be able to call your president a bum and not face any consequence. But at the same time, the media likes to portray these people as like, oh, these American athletes, they sacrifice, they're so brave, blah, blah, blah. None of that's true. They're really not sacrificing anything. Again, Colin Kaepernick, he's the one that kind of started this modern day protest movement that athletes have. And, he's extremely controversial. And the left never understood why. Well, you got him here making a statement with stocks that show police as pigs. He praised Fidel Castro. This guy makes no sense. He's praising Fidel Castro, a brutal dictator, while criticizing America. And so people say, okay, well, you can't say he didn't sacrifice anything. He lost his job as a football player. Well, I think that's up for debate, right? A lot of people say that he was declining already, but let's say he did lose his job as a football player because of that. Maybe he lost his job, but he didn't lose any money. He more than made up for that with deals from Nike, right? He keeps having these sponsorship deals with Nike and other companies. Netflix did a movie with him or a documentary with him. He's worth $20 million and is just growing. His wealth just keeps climbing. Good for him. He can make money grifting people if he wants to, but I'm not falling for it. But again, he he made this big protest for, I don't even agree with the underlying thesis of his protest, and he really couldn't articulate it that well to begin with. He always relied on other people to understand him and re-articulate it for him. But anyway, that really doesn't matter because he keeps making more money and good for him. LeBron James is worth $1 billion, right? Megan Rapinoe, she protests like everything, every every leftist cause out there. She's like protesting racism, she's protesting equal pay. And again, I think I'm not gonna get into it, but like this whole BLM thing, this whole like equal pay for equal work, I think it's all framed wrong, incorrectly. I think I don't agree with their thesis, but I do agree that they have the right to protest. But what you always see is that the media calls these people heroes. They're standing up for something. But again, they are not heroes, right? The, in Iran, if you protest, you get arrested and you might even get executed, right? Your life is not going to be the same. But in America, you protest, you get rewarded with sponsorship deals, you get star power, you get on every late night show, you get on the news. Even if you can, even like Megan, she makes a fool of herself. She keeps saying like, "Oh, we need equal pay." Well, why didn't you negotiate better on your contract? You had the option to get more pay, but you negotiated the safer contract, which is why you're getting paid less. And people don't even have the heart to call her out on that because they don't want to be seen as mean. So, but in Iran, they're protesting something legitimate. There is actually systemic discrimination baked into the laws of Iran, where where women are treated poorly, where religious minorities are treated poorly. Christians, Jews, Baha'is in Iran are all discriminated against in Iran. So there's something data backed and legitimate that they can protest, not like there is here in America. Like, LeBron James might say, "Oh, too many, so and so are being incarcerated or whatever." Well, I'm sorry. Well, it's not anything to do with their race. It's to do with the crime statistics. Unfortunately, I don't want people to be incarcerated, but if you break a law, you got to go to jail, right? That's just how it works. So, as an American, I support the protests going on in Iran. I think it's okay to support them, but then don't let the media fool you into thinking like, hey, why would you support the protest movement in Iran, but you don't support the BLM protest movement in America? Well, they're two totally different things, right? And also, don't let the media fool you into calling, they sometimes they like to say, oh, the Iranian government is a right-wing government. I mean, sure, on a superficial level, like there might be some overlap between on a sometimes there might be some overlap with social conservative values and of the right wing party in America and social conservative values of like Muslims, but that's only superficial and it's actually not as much as you would think. But there is a lot of overlap between left wing socialist values and the values of the Islamic regime, right? How did the Ayatollah come into power? He promised a lot of free stuff, very similar to what the Democrats promised in America. The Ayatollah promised free healthcare, free education. He even promised you free kerosene to heat up your house. So, a lot of free stuff enticed people to support the overthrow of the Shah. So don't let them fool you into thinking that the government is right wing when they're promising all this free stuff here and there. It's definitely more complicated than it seems. And then another thing I just wanted to point out is like a lot of times you hear like the American left, they say, oh, good for this Iranian climber in Korea for not wearing the hijab, but at the same time they celebrate Nike when they create a hijab to sell to Muslim athletes. I'm like, okay, look, if somebody wants to buy this, that's fine. They can buy it. But then are you really going to, that Iranian woman, Elnaz, she sees this as a tool of oppression, right? Not wearing this correctly is what got Mahsa Amini killed in Iran, right? By the so-called morality police. But then Nike is creating this product that Muslims use, the extremist Muslims use to to oppress women. Like it just makes no sense, and it's like they're talking out of both sides of their face. But in any case, that's all for now. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.